York. This is like an artist's artist, Willa Carroll.
Thank you, John. That was amazing. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you for coming. It's a packed house. I love it. I'm going to start with a few poems from my first book, Nerve Chorus. And the few poems, they're seeds for this more recent chapbook, Demolition Suite. So the first poem that I'm going to read is titled Green Room, as in where you go before you go on stage. We don't really get green rooms in poetry. I don't know, maybe at a certain level. But I like being in this room, so in the red room. This red room's upstairs. Green Room. Before I'm born, they tend a plot in a city yard studded with tall corn, silk tassels rustling the night wind. Dreams he's an insect swaying on stalks, sucking yellow milk beads. She pulls the curtains of her body around me. I'm in the green room, painting it black. He sweeps fake snow from the set, glinting flakes of toxic chrysotile. I cameo as the garden, chemical revolt, insouciant flesh, loud flower, leaf blight. His headlights, like twin moons, flood through the weeds. All right, the next poem I'm going to read is titled Lamentation Street. I remember in my workshop, a poet said, you can't name it Lamentation Street because what is the Cure song? What, Fascination Street? I was like, yeah, I can name this Lamentation Street. See my father on all fours in the dirt like a dog, searching for curds fallen from the moon's broken plate. See him panting on the lawn, lungs weedy with tumors. Little mongrel, tethered all evening to the porch's sagging proscenium. Taste his breath laced with industrial debris. Little dog, swallow your cries until night slips its costume, or my father, his body. The next poem is Mesothelioma, and for those not familiar, mesothelioma is an aggressive form of cancer caused by asbestos exposure, and it has a latency period of about 20 to 50 years, so sadly it's going to surge in New York City, definitely among 9/11 first responders. The good news is that it's finally been fully banned by the EPA with the help of this administration. And I lost my father to mesothelioma in 2015. Sounds like a species of coral or a flute carved from animal bone. Not lesions on my father's left lung, sheath of hard plaque tumors, flesh trophies from his labors. Fixed boiler pipes rife with asbestos. Installed tiles of this fireproof mineral in housing projects now crumbling. Worked decades as a one-man show with a truck of tools and a flimsy mask, barely filtering drywall and joint compound shot through with tremolite filaments. Millimeter fibers latticed his lungs, amassed cells in crazed refrain, rinds of sharp grit binding his breath. Dust clouds followed him home. I costumed myself in his work clothes. So moving from this project to this project, I wanted to take the hazards that my family faced and connect them to wider collective issues due to toxic exposures, climate change, and environmental degradation. I wanted to sort of open the aperture, so to speak, and wrote many of these poems during the pandemic in New York. And the first poem is titled Score for the Body as Cautionary Tale. Sing at the feast, bowls of gravel and wire, sawdust bread, rice carved from the moon's deciduous teeth. Wash it down with remediated rivers, ablated glaciers, hot-blooded seas. chase it with industrial slush, crude plumes, holy petroleum. Can you hear the bells, runaway exponentials, ticking cells? Dressed for extreme weather, decked in feathers and tremors. Sun reddens at noon in forest fire conditions as molecules sink into the water table, as the field's yellow caution tape ribbons the wind. After the storm, my father's hammer craters the walls. So I just want to give a note about the titles in this book. There's 31 short poems. I will not read them all, don't worry. And each one starts score for the body. So I was thinking of score as in a musical score, score for film, and most of the poems in the chapbook are incorporated into 2 short films that I worked on with my filmmaker husband. Though he prefers the term film worker, but that sounds like sex worker. So maybe you'd make more money. Okay, so this poem just made it on the set list late because of our little earthquake on Friday. Okay, score for a body on all fours. Brace for the quake, my fault lines, my fissures issuing steam. Hello, aftershocks, boulders rolling stoned. I will blow the big house down, unsettling the scores, widening the antipodes between us, continents adrift at far ends of the globe. Old molten rifts, melting poles. Sparrows steal my braille of crumbs. I'm down on hands and knees, ducking thrown stones, drinking from a river halfway to the sea. Ocean turning trashed plastics to jagged grains. Can my hands patch the leak in your torn floor?
Oh, nice.
I thought that was for the poem. Oh, nice. I was like, oh, she likes it. It was a nice poem.
It was.
Okay. Score for the body with bioaccumulation. This is an eclipse poem of sorts. Save us from cold moons, lakes of liquid methane, sunless planets, balls with no spin, no high noon, no big crimson, behind clouds, seeded with benzene. Give us our sun, hot queen, radiation maven, sporting a burning corona. My father lived in the desert between a gypsum mine and Superstition Mountain. He storied the last wild condors, 6-foot wings, their blood spiked with DDT. I know the taste, famous poison lacing a generation of mother's milk. When he lost his way under the punishing sun, he sucked white sap from cacti, pulling spines from his tongue. Okay, so next poem is titled Score for the Body as Fire Season. Call me tender envelope, little tinder, rational animal running for the shore. Wildfires make their own weather, dry thunder, soot snow. We shelter in a crowded burrow under an orange noon sky. Airlift us with Icarus wings. Calculate the weight of drought dust, star grit, measure loss as freight. Late now to perform the prescribed burn or tamp down the embers. Choiring fires ash the place. Cue the exit music. We must flee from home. Going, long gone with the wind-blown toxins, saplings black to the root. The next poem is Score for the Body as Calving Glacier. And I realized I didn't finish I started making a joke about, and I didn't finish the score. Oh, so the scores are, I have to not do stand-up when I do poetry. Score for the Body, it's so music score, film score, but also I have background in experimental dance, and postmodern dancers use the term score for a set of parameters for an improvisation. So that was an important factor in writing these poems. Score for the body is calving glacier, and if anybody's not familiar with calving glacier, it's a glacier that's calving. It's like losing icebergs from its face. Hold your jagged tongues, your blue sluice. I drink from your leaks, polar lobes, ablation zones. I touch your Arctic bulk, friable ice, scored with cracks. I beg on my knees, halt your calving, rewind your ruptures, recall debris from risen acidic seas, oceans swallowing coasts. Resist the sultry air as your meltwater roves south, shifting the planetary axis, disrupting the Gulf Stream. In the deep water column, your carbon dioxide steals ions, corrodes the calcium armor of sea snails and intricate starfish bones. Oh, broken chain, begin again. So the next poem is Somnambulant Body, score for Somnambulant Body. Begin in rivers, green with leached nitrogen. Begin in dirt underfoot. Listen to the insect chorus, microbe empire. My father sleeps in the loam, in the low clay. I'm accountable only to the wind and rocks shedding their skins in acid-laced rain. I lie under a blue tarp ceiling, dreaming a modern ark with a hole in its hull. All morning gone, swimming in the marrow. All afternoon spent in the wet archive behind the eyes. After the flood, salt kills the pines. Out in another scorched forest, animal bones are slow, skull a bowl, our dust on loan from a shapely nebula. So a couple lines in here I just want to mention. After the flood, salt kills the pines, out in another scorched forest. We're inspired by the Maya Lin's art installation Ghost Forest in Madison Park. Did anybody see that in 2021? Yeah, so she took these 40-foot white cedars that had been slated for removal from the pine barrens of New Jersey for saltwater incursion and fire and other climate change issues, and she installed them in the middle of the lawn in Madison Square Park, and it was a ghostly ghost forest. Okay, so now I'm going to switch modes a bit to what I call my pollinator poems for spring. Score for bodies in swarm. Avoid nectar hours, high winds, or you will sweep the desiccated shells of bees for miles. Blame the pesticide arsenal, brands named Scorpion, Sniper, Tombstone, Warrior. Russian farmers called them God's little bird, thought killing them a sin. Obey Mother Tupelo, Father Clover. I once watched one convulsing in the pink sleeve of a foxglove, legs twitching a sick jig. I once watched 3 girls, 3 graces at Coney Island, pouring jars of honey over their heads, then beer, then more honey, making mead of themselves, then rushing into the waves crying, miel, miel. It was that beauty ritual, the beer and the hair and the honey. It was actually exquisite to watch, and it went on for a long time. Okay, so score for the body between seed and thorn. A flower is a series of events in time, and the origin of the apple, the orange, the lemon, dimpled skin, shining with fungicide. Rain consorts with the trees. I need a machine made of sound, soft detonations, scores for the body to perform. I put my ear to the wall of your chest for the flesh drum. Cell by cell, you remake yourself. We are both bee and comb. Good world, surrender your nectar. Kick pollen into the wind. Deconstruct the bud, blowing it open. Between seed and thorn, satin and rot, we take what you've got. All the sweet debris, every last bird. So just two more. Score for bodies dressed in pollen. Dress in pollen, dance in code. Stay loyal to one or two flowers. Follow the pigment, my red specialist, my blue connoisseur. Build your hive in an abandoned tire, rolling down the road. Here comes my father around the bend of a dream, wearing a crown of bees, sawdust on his shoes. In winter, we filled our pockets with black seeds, waited in a grove, hands outstretched for chickadees, dark caps matching the hulls in their beaks. Sunflowers are said to pull radiation from the soil. In the fields near Fukushima, shaggy coronas, beaded faces. Around Chernobyl, gold sentinels. Last poem. Score for the body as time machine. Rewind the sun. Set back the burning clock. Sweep debris into a moon. Score a cluster of stars. Reenact plate tectonics, great oxygenations. Swim, trilobite, swim, as flowers precede the bees, as whales flunk back into the oceans. Mountains trending up, seas retreat, glaciers advance. We invent the kiss, record an inch of history, grease wheels, melt poles. Volcanoes wear down to nubs, buildings to braille. Nuclear waste takes the time it takes, along with coral revival and continental rifts. Decamp with the moon in galactic drift. Dial down the sun, red giant, white dwarf, runaway star. Thank you.